This video will be different from all the previous ones. I'll show you how you can create games using React Native. As you can see, this game is pretty simple, but the context is very deep, at least for me and many other Ukrainians. I am from Ukraine, and from 24 February, my home on fire. Russians came to Ukraine to kill, rape and torture. They marked their tanks and other military transport with the letter. Z is their symbol in this war against Ukraine and all freedom world. That's why my enemies in this game have the symbol. I split this tutorial for 2 parts. I tried to post the second one as soon as I can. Please leave your comments what do you think about this tutorial, and subscribe on my channel, share this video, and let's get started. In the beginning, I want to say that game development is not my strong skill, and this is the very first time when I'm using this React Native game engine. If you worked with it before and you want to share some thoughts and better solution, feel free to leave your comments below this video. For now, our main focus will be on the game logic, but you can find all additional stuff in the source code, which I'll post together with the second part for this tutorial. I already added game engine from React Native game engine library, and now let's put this component to our game scene together with the reference. Next, very important properties here, it is entities and the systems, but let's go back to them later. To see anything on the game scene, we need to add a background. I tried to add that just inside the game engine component, but I got FPS issue after that, so I put background under game component with absolute position. Images for this component and all other components that we use images you can find in the assets folder. The next step, adding absolute position styles. So let's check, and here we go, we have our game background. Now let's add score label. I'll put that to top left corner of our scene. I don't want to spend your time on styles typing, so for next such cases I'll use copy-paste, and of course you will be able to review them all in source code more detailed. Now let's add the value for our score. For the first step it will be just the value from our state. And now let's check how it looks like. Okay, let's move on and add back button for redirection to welcome screen. We'll put this button as well as score label, but in the bottom left corner. For the back button handler, I'll use additional functions from the utils file. Store and get score functions work with the async store, and it will help to show the best score on the welcome scene. If current score value is bigger, we save that to store before redirect to welcome scene. I use React Native navigation, but you can use your favorite navigation library for that. Okay, now we have back button, and it's time to create the first entity for our game. All entities will be functions that have such parameters as position, width, height, and return a component. An enemy will be the first entity, and I'm gonna use entity type that I have already specified in a common file for types that we need. The image is a basic for this enemy and I need to import that from assets as well. We need to use absolute position and to get left and top values from position parameter. It's an array of numbers, by the way. And of course we need to add width and height for the image. Enemy handler we add later. Now we need one more entity and it will be side of the weapon. I extend entity type with ready parameter. After every shot the weapon will be loading for the next one, and to show this process we need this ready prop. Also I want to add some blinking effect and visible state will help to do that. We don't need any special images because we will use horizontal and vertical lines and we can draw that using styles. Width, height and position we get from input parameters and also specify opacity depends on ready flag. Also let's prepare some stuff for future blinking feature. We go back to this functionality when we'll handle behavior after shot. And I almost forgot to add views with styles to draw our site entity. Now when we have necessary entities, we can focus on game logic. I create new folder and call that systems. First that we need to do is init the static entity. I call that function init entities and the first entity that we need to do, it will be our site. We need to add here all necessary parameters. As you remember, we have ready flag, we need to put width, height, and we need to do that using our constants file and predefine it some values. So I just import that from the dimensions and just use them for every entity that I need. So I put the width, height and very important properties here. It is renderer. This is the property that will help to understand React Native game engine what components should to use to draw this entity on the game scene. And of course position. I want that our site will be just in the center of the scene. It is very easy to do using screen width and screen height. Now let's check how it looks like. I got an error just because I should to pass it to the entities, not to the systems. And the second error, it's because I forgot to import React to my entities files. Let's check again, and finally we have our site entity just in the middle of the game scene. Now I see that I forgot to add label about ready or loading for our site, so let's fix it. So let's check, and here we go, our ready label. Next step is creation new system to have ability to move our site. All system functions will have two arguments. The first one it is our entities and the second one it is update. The type for update we can see in the React Native game engine library. Let's go back to our site system and filter our input touches because we want to work only with type move. Let's import some dimensions. Now we need to calculate new position for our site for every update. I'll start from x-axis, and for doing this I need to get current left position. It will be position with index 0 and plus delta from touch event. Also, we need to specify x-axis maximum and minimum position because I don't want to allow move site entity out of the game scene. If x position will be less than 0, we need to set that to 0 to prevent move out of the scene from the left side. If x position will be more than maximum, we need to equal that to maximum values to prevent move out of the scene from the right side. Now I'm gonna do the same stuff but for the y-axis. And the final step is to set our new calculated position for site entity. And also very important thing that every system function should return entities. So let's put our system function to systems array of game engine. And now we are ready to check how it works. As you can see, we can't move out game scene, but looks like we have a little bug because a little piece of site is hidden when moving that to the edge of the screen. The problem in this shifted position for 10 points. I have added that to have bigger visual overlapping site and enemy during the shot. So we can fix that in very easy way, just to set our minimum position to 10 and minus 10 from our maximum position. Now it works great and we can move on to create enemy system. In this system, we will generate enemies randomly. Let's import some dimensions. Also, this system should react on game events. I also imported from our constants files, and for now we have such events like start game, new enemy and press fire. Let's destructure update props. And go to events handling. Start game and new enemy events will have the same logic. This logic is about create new enemy, and this enemy should have unique key. That's why I'll use current time as a part of key. X position should be random value from 0 to screen width minus enemy width. Y position will equal enemy height, negative enemy height. Also we need to set velocity, I set that too. Also let's add width and height. I add create add value. I'm not sure for 100% if it will need, but let's keep it for now. And of course we need to specify component for rendering. Now let's put our new system to systems array. Let's refresh and to see what we have. We don't see enemies because enemy generation depends on events. So let's add logic to dispatch these events. When our game scene did mount, we need to send start game event, and for unmount we need to send game over. Unfortunately, React Native Game Engine has some missing types, that's why you can see these TypeScript issues. These events could be handled not only by systems but by game engine too. In our case, we should listen game over event, and if we got this event, to save the score and redirect to the previous screen. I add is game over flag to the state because we need to show additional UI element for the user, for example, game over, okay, and redirect to the previous screen. At this step in the game over handling, I just save the score and set the timeout for redirection to the previous screen. UI elements for the game over isn't so important for us, so let's focus on that later. Let's pass our event handler to the game engine. Let's go back to enemy system. I forgot to return entities. Let's see, and okay, an error. Let me check. Okay, looks like I forgot to add return in the switch. No error anymore, but the enemies still are not visible. Okay, I got it. I missed two things. The first one, we need to create enemies not only once, we need to do that constantly with some timeout. I put random value for the timeout from 1 to 4 seconds. And the second thing that I missed is to change the enemy position using velocity. Every enemy has unique key because we add the current time, but we know that all this key has enemy and it starts from the enemy. That's why we can use start with. After we get this enemy, we need to check if it's still not out of the game scene. We can do that using the screen heights. Now we can add velocity to the top enemy position. If the enemy is out of the game scene, we need to delete this enemy. and we need to dispatch game over event because in this case it means the enemy broke through the defenses. And now let's check how it works. Need to refresh, and as you can see, our enemies start moving. Thank you for watching. I hope this content was interesting for you. Unfortunately for Ukraine, these enemy tanks are real today. People die every day from Putin's Russia. If you want to support Ukraine in this fight, you can find URLs for helping in description below this video.